Hi, Steve Gale here. In this video, we're going to have a look at remote management of our DMZ server and see what security policies and NAT policies we need to be able to do that. So let's first of all look at our NAT policies. So we'll go into NAT and we'll see that we've got two NAT policies here. We've got our source NAT, which is to the outside, inside, and DMZ to outside. And inside and DMZ to outside, and it's using Ethernet 1.1 and dynamic IP import, and we've got a static IP address on our outside interface for our firewall. So this is for our internal clients and our DMZ server to get out using NAT. Then we've got a destination NAT rule. So a destination NAT rule provides connectivity between our outside zone and our DMZ server at 192.168.50.100. And this is the reflected address. So this is its internet address, if you like, is 192.168.28.100. So what that means, if we want to browse to our DMZ server from the inverted commas internet, then this is the IP address that we would use. And NAT is going to reflect that traffic into our DMZ server. Similarly, if we want to remotely manage our DMZ server, then we remotely manage using RDP or SSH or MySQL Workbench or whatever we were trying to do to this address, and NAT will then reflect that to our DMZ. So let's look at our security policies. And we're interested in the DMZ one. So we've got an inside to DMZ. So inside to DMZ at this stage is just allowing all traffic. Outside to DMZ, we're very specific about what we want to do from the outside to the DMZ. So from the outside or from the internet to our DMZ, from any source address, our destination is 208.100, which is our reflected address. So that's the destination IP. And we're only going to allow SSL and web browsing from any source, SSL and web browsing. So port 80 and port 443, and that's going to be allowed. Notice that we're monitoring. So we're log forwarding and monitoring, traffic log and log forwarding. We've also got this rule, which is for remote management. So for remote management from the outside to the DMZ, again, using this address, we're only going to allow RDP, SSH, and MySQL protocols. So these are the applications, but only from specific hosts, remote management hosts. So if I look at these remote management hosts here, I've got certain remote management hosts which I've selected, which I can manage remotely the server via SSH, MySQL, and RDP. So this is our other policy. So notice that we haven't got a DMZ to inside, and we do need one. So we're going to have to add a DMZ to inside at some point because our DMZ servers going to want to talk back to our SIEM, and on port 9200, or I think it is. Anyway, we're going to have to add that one. But anyway, at the moment we're talking about remote management. So this is our remote management policy. So once we've implemented that policy, if we go from one of these remote management hosts, and I've set up a remote management host as being the network that this PC is attached to, then what I should be able to do is I should be able to SSH. So I can just SSH in, and you can see here, I'll just quit out of this and I'll run it again. So I should be able to SSH to this address here, which is 192.168.208.100, and open, and I can log in. Yep, and in I go. So SSH is working. I also should be able to RDP, and I think I've currently got an RDP session running at the moment, yeah, which I have, to 192.168.208.100. So I can sign in with remote desktop. And you can see that my remote desktop is running. So if I go and have a look at the logs now, I've just SSH and RDP. So I'll just go and have a look at my logs. So traffic logs, and I'll just generically go destination 208.100, and I'll get rid of this first part in the log. I should see I've got some SSH traffic, which has been allowed. Yep, you can see here SSH is allowed. And I've got RDP 3389, MSRDP is allowed. So both my SSH and my MSRDP traffic are functioning. Now these are from previous connections because currently my SSH is running, yeah, and my RDP is running. So because I'm logging at session end, they're not actually coming up. But if I was to end those, if I was to end this one, quit out of this, close the session, and then do a refresh, I should see after a period of time, once it's realized that it's finished, I should see my new SSH session pop up there. Similarly, if I was to do the same with my RDP session, I would see that there's my SSH. Yep, TCP fin. So that's the one that I just quit out of. So just going back to my policies, security policies, you can see here my insight to DMZ is basically application any, service application default. So any application from inside to DMZ. Yeah. I might just want to tidy that up a bit and maybe change it to SSL web browsing, MSRDP, MySQL and SSH. So just those specific applications from inside the DMZ. Just to tighten that up a little bit. So I could do that. The other thing that I could do is DMZ to outside. So I don't currently have a DMZ to outside. So I could add a DMZ to outside policy and then specify that I only want, for example, apt-get and DNS or something like that, depending on what I want to do from my DMZ server going out to the internet. Now, I mentioned before that DMZ to inside. I could add a rule DMZ to inside, and what I could do is I could use the address that the agent uses to connect back to the seam, because the only traffic that should to go from DMZ to inside is my my seam traffic. So if I was going to do that, it would look something like this: add name, DMZ to inside. Source zone would be DMZ. Source address, probably want to be specific. DMZ web server. Destination zone would be inside. Destination address would be my seam. Yep. Application, probably any application, but my service URL category, probably what I would do here is add a new service and call it fleet agent. Yep. And I think my fleet agent's running on TCP, and I'm pretty sure it's 9200, but we need to check that. Yep. And okay. And my actions would be allow, and whether I want to log it, I probably don't want to log that because I don't want to log into my seam the seam traffic. I don't want to forward that log, so I probably wouldn't do log forwarding on that, but I can use it in the session log, and I can say OK to that, and that should give me the ability from my DMZ server to connect to my seam on the inside on that port 9200, and it will allow the back traffic, obviously, because this is a stateful security policy rule. Now, what's missing here is I've got no profiles. So what I should be doing is I should be checking for antivirus, anti-spyware, vulnerability protection, URL filtering, and so forth on all of these. So that's something that should be done. Okay, hope that's been helpful. Thanks for watching.